things out the way first. First couple videos. Editing problems. Pictures not getting videos. Editing is a pain. We'll make sure this one's good. That out the way. 2007 Decepticons. We got Studio Series figures to talk about, so I don't think we should waste any more time other than, I said we're doing this. We're going through all the Studio Series figures before the new wave comes out. So, I think that's all the instruction we need. Going by the films, kinda. So we'll start off with the first figure. Number 6. Starscream! Which is, in my opinion, the best figure in the first wave. It's just so much fun. I mean, the figure design, I never really liked the movie Starscream design. It's a Dorito with chicken legs and a beak. It looks weird. It's like a Dorito chicken sandwich. That made no sense, but who cares? And it is a heavy departure from the G1 Starscream design. However, I usually don't care about that. I'm not here to judge the figures off of, it's not accurate G1, it's Bayfumers. I'm here to judge the figures off of what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be accurate to the films. Which, you know, I'm not going to let any bias towards the films, whether I prefer G1 designs, whether I like the films or not, get in the way of if I like these figures. And I do enjoy the films. I can enjoy the films. I am able to. Last Night is a little meh, but I am able to enjoy the films, especially the first one. And Starscream was definitely my least favorite design from the first film, but this figure actually makes it look pretty dang good. Love the weapon. I mean, all you have to do is fold the hands up like that and plug the gun to the wrist, and there you go. It's like you got this missile launcher, so it's pretty cool. You can also stab you with it. Honestly, it's pretty cool. And the transformation, the jet mode, F-22 Raptor, again, officially licensed, looks great. And the transformation is actually really fun. Something people might be complaining about is that he's just a upscaled, slightly remolded version of the Dark of the Moon Deluxe Starscream, and I'm okay with that. It's perfectly fine, because that was a really good figure. And people are complaining about the chicken legs. I don't really care. It's part of the design. It doesn't really make the figure terrible or anything. It stands just fine. No stability issues because of the chicken legs. In fact, I'd say stability is probably even better. Yes, the design looks weird, but it's just how it is. The head sculpt is also really good, really accurate to the film, really well done. And actually, just the head sculpt, the design of the figure, and the fun transformation and jet mode really making me kind of like this design. Never would have thought that would happen, but toys can do that to you. Honestly, this figure's really good. I highly recommend you pick this one up. There is a Revenge of the Fallen version with all the tattoos. I'd say, pick which one you prefer. I do prefer this one, but, we'll get to that in, actually the next video, because that's when I'm going to be doing Revenge of the Fallen stuff. But I do prefer this version over the Revenge of the Fallen version, but I still think the Revenge of the Fallen version is good. Overall, this figure is really great, and I'd have to, and it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's really dang close. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's really freaking good. I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a movie fan. Especially if you like the first film. The next one is also from the first wave. Mr. Blackout, which some people say is the best figure in the wave. I can kind of see why, but I also disagree. First of all, this thing's a mess. It's a mess. It's a complete mess of a design, but in a good way. In a good way. It's definitely, it's really good. Kibble is fine. I'll be honest here. Kibble on movie figures is expected, and I don't complain about kibble on the movie figures. I just appreciate it when they don't have kibble. These designs are crazy complicated. People need to cut Hasbro some slack. All Blackout has is this little panel on the back, and then the arms, and maybe these bits on the bottom of the feet. But again, at the bottom of the feet, so you'll never really see them. Well, kinda. Whatever. It still looks good, nonetheless. Well, it's very accurate to the film. Yes, it does have parts forming. This is the tail rotor that ends up on the arm, even though it ends up all the way back here in helicopter mode. Who cares? The helicopter mode does look great. It just doesn't hold together very well. At least on my copy. It could just be my copy, but it is a problem on my copy, so whatever. The head sculpt, once again, freaking fantastic. You say what you want about the movie designs. Blackout's design is, in my opinion, is really awesome. And that opening scene is awesome. Is really awesome as well. Like, I've got to mention about backdrop. Starscream has the Mission City battle as the backdrop, as a lot of the figures in this toyline do. Like, I think half of the 2007 figures had the Mission City battle as their backdrop. Well, Blackout is his own exclusive backdrop, and that's basically his opening scene, which is probably like the best scene in all the films, where he just blows up the military base. Like, it's freaking awesome. And he does come with a little Scorponok. It is to be expected, you know. And Scorponok can store underneath the helicopter mode. He can plug onto Blackout's back, but I prefer to have them separate. And he is really tiny. He's really tiny, like here he is with the Earthrise Starscream, I guess. That doesn't give you a sense of scale. Here he is with a Diet Dr. Pepper cream soda bottle. There you go. But really, yes, Blackout has the wonky looking hands that you can't rotate. It has a few flaws. And yes, the transformation's not very fun. But that doesn't mean it's a bad figure. I mean, a couple flaws, the transformation's not very fun. You expect that on a Bayformers figure. No, but at least it's not Revenge of the Fallen levels. Revenge of the Fallen toy line. I don't really have any of the figures, but I remember them from my childhood. They transform like they did in the films. A complete mess. So, yeah, there's Blackout. I give this figure a good 7 out of 10. It's good, not as good as Starscream in my opinion. Like, Starscream is just fun. And that's really what I look for in a figure. Fun. Jet mode, not jet mode, the helicopter mode. It's not very fun for this figure, but the robot mode is really great. And Scorponok is absolutely freaking adorable. Look at this thing, it's freaking adorable. Alright, and that was the 2007 Decepticons for Wave 1. A pretty good start, but we can get even better with Wave 2. Yes, Voyager class Brawl. Wow. This dude is pretty freaking cool, honestly. I always liked Brawl's design. I always thought he looked really cool. And this figure's alright. It's not too great. Articulation is nothing to, you know, brag about. Definitely not. I don't like how low his shoulders sit. It looks really weird. Like, on camera, it doesn't look that bad. Actually, on camera, it looks kind of fine. But in person, it does look a little off. Don't mind all the noise. I live with a bunch of people. So please don't mind the noise. And a bunch of dogs as well, so yeah, please don't mind the noise. Yeah, the head sculpt is absolutely phenomenal. Love that head sculpt. And overall, when the torso, I also love the torso, how they did that. We're just gonna have to accept that, you know, we're gonna get fake parts on movie figures, so I say deal with it. Legs have a bit of kibble, but I don't mind the legs as much as I do the arms. Like, look at this. Look at this. It doesn't look very good. That's really the only kibble I have a problem with, because the only other piece of kibble that's bad is the tank turret hanging down here, and that's
a penis.
That's just freaking hilarious. Oh, wow. Okay, this figure's great, honestly. And the tank mode being an M1A1 Abrams tank, I think officially licensed? I think so. It's great, which, you know, why would you not want to be a tank? That thing could reach like 60 miles per hour. That's freaking great. The tank doesn't have a rotating turret or anything. It's not much. Overall, the figure is good. The figure's definitely good, but it could use some work. It has a lot of flaws. I give it a 7 out of 10. It is still fun, but it could use a lot of work, honestly. Again, the shoulders sitting low really bothers me. It's like my biggest flaw with the figure. Kibble is not even that big of a problem for me. It's just those shoulders. Like, they sit so low. I don't know why. He's like, get someone to destroy stuff out. No, it's like, I want to destroy stuff. So, yeah. I just give Brawl a 7 out of 10. He's not bad. So, yeah. Those were the three 2007 figures from Studio Series in 2018. And it wouldn't be Wave 5 until we got more. For some reason, I guess. I don't. It was weird. So the next guy we got is, well, in my opinion, the weakest of the bunch. Barricade. I mean, I don't think this figure is bad by any means. I mean, once again, that head sculpt is amazing. Hasbro always nails the head sculpts. Almost always. With these guys, they nail the head sculpts every damn time, and it's amazing. And the molding, the sculpting, and everything, and the silhouette, it looks great. But just the feel of the figure, it feels so flimsy, cheap, and it kind of feels like I'm very worried it's gonna fall apart in my hands. I mean, I like the arms. I like how they did the arms. They look pretty dang good. I also like the hands. They're also pretty cool. The transformation is the worst out of all of these guys. Like, Blackout may not be fun, but at least it's doable without getting too frustrated. This thing is just frustrating. Like, you have to line things up properly, and yes, I know this is just my copy, and it's probably just a defective copy, but still something to bring up. In vehicle mode, the police logo is not properly lined up. I have this transformed right. It's lined up properly. Just the words aren't. It's just a slight problem that I have with my copy. It's not the end of the world, but it is a problem. And the cable isn't too bad. There are certain things I like. I like how they made these rubber plastics so they can just fit, like, you know, nice and angled. Because I have a picture of them on my wall over there. Looks pretty dang good. Looks really accurate. And he has the cool weapon here, which just plug into his hand. Just kind of close his hand up and plug into his hand, and it does spin, which is nice. And it can plug into like the front of the car mode to basically be basically a lawnmower practically. And speaking of vehicle mode, the vehicle mode is great. I will admit, the vehicle mode is good. I think my biggest problem with this figure is another problem I have with a Masterpiece Barricade that nobody really seems to talk about, and that's he doesn't come with Frenzy. Like, Frenzy was his little mini-con dude. How could he not come with Frenzy? Like, literally the 2007 Deluxe and the Human Alliance Barricade came with Frenzy. Why didn't this one come with Frenzy? You already have to fit him in his chest. Just have him included. But don't worry, it gets worse than there. Honestly, Barricade is fine. He's a fine figure, but definitely not the greatest. It's not very fun. I give him a 6 out of 10. Could be a lot better. Like, it works for what we need, but it could have been so much better. I know people saying, oh, it's practically just a miniature Masterpiece Barricade. Yeah, just not as good. Sadly. And I used to think Barricade was freaking awesome, but then I'm like, now that I've actually had, like, even in Studio Series, they're way better deluxes. I'm like, I'm noticing a lot of the flaws. Like, yeah, this thing does not feel the greatest. But that doesn't really matter. I give him a 6 out of 10. Could have been a lot better. I mean, actually, no, I'll be generous. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. I'll give him a 7 out of 10. I'll be generous. Because, you know, it's not that bad. Yeah. And now, the next guy, is Mr. Bone Crusher, a figure I think everybody wanted. Like, after we got, pretty much ever since the announcement of Studio Series, everybody wanted this guy. And there is a slight problem, and I forgot to grab it for comparison. I figured I'd get the problem out the way first. I forgot to grab it for comparison. Okay. Now, his wave mate, number 32 Optimus, they don't scale perfectly. Other people have a problem with this figure, and that's Bone Crusher's too short. That's true. He does still feel Voyager class because what he lacks in height, he makes up with what he lacks in height, he makes up for in just bulk. Makes up for it in bulk. He's very bulky. He's very stocky, and I mean, it's not that big a difference compared to Optimus. It's just, you know, he's not much taller than the original Deluxe. Although one thing he does have is his arms are nice and big, so we can like wrap him around Optimus. Like, literally wrap his arms all the way around Optimus. Like, look at this. He's holding on to Optimus. I'm not touching Optimus right now. And he's holding on to Optimus with his arms. It's actually a really cool feature, in my opinion. And it's really cool. The vehicle mode is just like some sort of minesweeper thing. Looks great. The vehicle mode looks great, honestly. I thought I'd say these are all really accurate to the film. Honestly, I feel like I don't need to say that. If I'm talking about these figures being great, that means they're accurate to the film. Just if I'm praising the figures, they're accurate to the film. And once again, that head sculpt is amazing. Even kibble management is pretty dang good. And what's this? He has an ankle pivot. What? This figure is still really good, even if he is really kind of squat and stocky and stuff. He's pretty dang good, if I do say so myself. I like it. I thought it was worth the money, and he still looks great with the other Decepticons. With a good amount of articulation that he has, I give this figure a solid 7.5 out of 10. He has that scaling issue, and no, I'm gonna give him an 8 out of 10. He's still fun and great. The transformation is fun, though. That's the thing. Like, I always have a problem with transformations that aren't fun. So, yeah, that's kind of the biggest pet peeve. Okay, so we're on to the last figure. There's a home stretch, people. Yeah, one last guy to go. Now, this figure, everybody wanted a Frenzy to go with this guy. But we didn't get a Frenzy with the figure. Bit of a disappointment, yes, but, you know, whatever. We're probably not going to see a Frenzy in Studio Series unless they include it with, like, the Fallen or something, or something like that. I don't know. We're done with the 2007 collection. It's complete. This figure completed it. It did come out in Wave 8, though, so it's really weird how they space things out. Yeah, 3 Decepticons in, like, the first 2 waves. Then we got 2 Decepticons in the 5th wave. And then our last Decepticon for this film in the 8th wave. It's like, bruh, Hasbro, why are you spacing things out? But we have all the 2007 figures now. We have all the Autobots, and we have all the Decepticons. Finishing it off with Lord Megatron. Oh gosh, this figure is actually really cool. First of all, I'd start off with just saying the same thing I've said with all the other these figures. Look at that head sculpt. That is freaking amazing. Very accurate to the film. Love this silver paint. Like, you can just see how shiny this thing is. Like, it's very shiny. I know it's kind of shadowy over here. It's kind of dark. Don't have the best lighting. But it is very shiny, coated in this nice, beautiful silver paint. I think this is the first Voyager class figure that's had this creative silver paint. There's the KSI boss, but it had a lot of like that dull, dark gray in there. This is just mostly silver, and it just looks awesome. The vehicle mode looks like how it did in the film. Ridiculous. They don't really have to worry about kibble because it's like it's a Cybertronian jet mode. Who gives a crap? And not to mention a Michael Bay Cybertronian jet mode. And you'd think, okay, well, where's the kibble? It's right here. And even then, it's tucked away very nicely, giving us some nice chunky legs, which I'm perfectly okay with, because they still feel nice and solid. They don't feel like they're about to crumble in my hands and the wings are just gonna fall out. No, they feel nice and solid. I feel like I freaking smack it around, and see, it still holds in place. It's perfect. And the back is completely clean. Can we talk about how this is better than the Masterpiece? Like, as a figure, this is better than the Masterpiece. It has the silver paint, and it has no back kibble. And what kibble has in the legs is nice and solid and snug, and it honestly doesn't even feel like there's kibble sometimes. How is this better than the Masterpiece? Well, there's only one thing the Masterpiece does better. This is the accessory the Studio Series Megatron came with. This is supposed to be his flail, and it attaches by folding his hand into his arm, and basically plugging it into his wrist right there, and that's it. However, it's pretty much just, that's it. It's just this beating stick. It is bendy, but it just flips right back. This part is on a swivel, and there's really not much you can get out of it posability-wise. I mean, the best you can get is him holding it like this. But that's because he has to like hold it in place with the other hand. And that is a great pose, honestly. And I think if you're going to display him with the accessory, this is definitely the pose to get him in. But other than that, the accessory really kind of just sucks. That's the only thing it does that the Masterpiece does better. You could say, oh, I had the death feature, you can shove the L-Spark in his chest. In my opinion, death features don't make figures better unless it's the movie Jazz, because that Masterpiece movie Jazz is way better than the Studio Series version, simply because you can rip it in half. That's it. That's the only figure where that counts. Another thing is, the Megatron looks really great next to Optimus. Like, these two look great together. So yeah, that's the whole gang right there. That's the whole Decepticon gang. I'd say it's pretty dang good. I give Megatron a solid 8 out of 10. It's not perfect. It has its flaws, but it's still really good. A lot of these, like, they're really good. So it's half 8 out of 10, half 7 out of 10. I say these are worth picking up just for the whole collection. And if you're a movie fan, especially for like the first film, especially if like the Decepticons were the first film, like I did, then you are really going to like these figures. You're gonna like getting all of them. I thought I'd mention, yes, Megatron's design strays from G1, but it doesn't matter because that's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on whether or not they're accurate to the film and if they're good figures. Because that's basically what I look for. I look for two things. If they're accurate to the film in both scale and design, and if they're just good figures, as figures, not as just the movie figures, if they're just good figures. And most of what I said here is, is talking about them as a figure, not as, oh, are they accurate to the film? Which they are accurate to the film. All of them are. So, yeah, I'd say these are definitely worth picking up if you can, and that's part 2 of my entire Studio Series review. Wow. That's pretty crazy when you think about it. So yeah, I grew up in 2007 film, that's where I started, which is why I have a special place in my heart for these guys. A special place in my spark. So, I'm Optimus Prime, and stay tuned for the next part, Revenge of the Fallen figures. Not counting the Decepticons. I thought I'd get that out of the way now. Decepticons are going to be their own separate thing. I'm Optimus Prime, signing out.